even if we said eventually science proves enough that it actually took place, as is being claimed, that process is not a blind process, ultimately. It is a process which is controlled by forces. They're saying it's by chance or whatever, but again, when we look at the issues of chance producing the kind of complexity and design that we find in everything in creation, everything all around us, this is really a highly unlikely claim. It is not really supported with logic and reason. So even if we said that God created the first human being utilizing what we call the evolutionary process, that's possible too. Because when God created Adam and Eve, the exact process by which they were created is not specifically defined. It is not specifically defined in such details as to say or to rule out absolutely that an evolutionary element may not be there. So, this is not an issue for us. Belief in God is not linked to or dependent on whether one believes in evolution or one doesn't believe in evolution. The problem with evolutionary ideas come when people are trying to claim that through the evolutionary process, without any external influence, all of this came about. All an accident. And when it's all traced back to the beginning point of the Big Bang, what came before, why did the bang take place? See, science is at a loss. There is no explanation. They can only talk about what happened after. But what happened before? Why did it begin? No answers. So the issue of belief in the first human being being referred to, or the name given by God to them as Adam and Eve, this is part of our belief. It is part of revelation. And science will never be able to go back to that point and say, who were the first two anyway? Okay, first let me say that there is a site or a program on YouTube which says Harun Yahya is an idol worshipper. Yeah, okay? This site I did not put up. People have taken a section of a lecture which I gave, then put their own title on it, and put it on the YouTube. So I would not stand up and say Harun Yahya is an idol worshipper. Okay, so please just, any of you who, actually I guess I should try to do some sort of rebuttal to that and to clarify for people on it. But if you actually listen to what is said there, I don't say there in any of the statements that Harun Yahya is an idol worshipper. It's not there. It's not there in the actual video recording. What I was explaining, and this is a point that people have to be aware of, that Harun Yahya promoted in a number of his books. In the back, in the end of the book, there's an appendix. And maybe later copies, they dropped it, after there were enough complaints and things arose about it, where he started to speak about matter, the truth about matter. And basically, his arguments were the arguments of a philosopher among Muslims in the past by the name of Ibn Arabi, who promoted or projected the idea known as Wahdatul Wujud, which means there is only one existence. Only Allah exists. Everything else is an illusion. So it means ultimately that the realities of everything is Allah, that only Allah exists. What is real about you is Allah. What is real about me is Allah. And so you had this individual stating that there is no need to worship any God beyond yourself. You can worship yourself. So this goes against all of the teachings of the prophets. All the prophets taught us to worship God, not to worship ourselves or to worship other human beings. So this philosophy is a false philosophy which was rejected by the mass of the Muslim scholarship. You see, so they reject that. So that's what I told people to beware of, because as a part of it, he even claimed, that heaven and earth are one and the same, and that, there's a variety of other statements that he made which are not in keeping with Islamic teachings, but it is in keeping with this kind of approach that there is only one existence. What they call monism. It's really monism. And it ends up being a form of pantheism or justification for pantheism. Because if you say that Allah is in everything, Allah is the essence of everything, then the idol worshipper, for example, the average Hindu, who has some knowledge, if you ask him why is he worshipping such and such an idol, he will explain that I'm not actually worshipping the idol that you're seeing here. What I'm worshipping is God, the same God that you're worshipping, who becomes focused in the idol at the time of my worship. So it becomes, that approach or that understanding becomes a justification for worshipping other than God in the end. Because even though he says that, if his idol falls and breaks, he can't worship it anymore. He has to go and buy a new one. So it's telling you that though he's saying, yes, I'm worshiping God, focused in the idol, he's really worshiping the idol.
So I have a question that why is it permissible for a Muslim man to marry a Christian or a Jewish girl, but the vice versa is not permissible? A Muslim woman cannot marry a man or a boy who's a Christian or a Jew. The reply is given in the Quran, in Surah Ma'idah, chapter number 5, verse number 5. It says, lawful for you in marriage are the women of the Ahl Kitab. So Quran clearly says that for a Muslim man, he can marry a woman from the Ahl Kitab, but the vice versa is not true. The logical reason is that whenever a Muslimah, a Muslim girl, if she has to marry a man who's a Christian, she is going to their family. And if a Muslim boy is marrying a Christian girl, she is coming to the family of the Muslim family. Now here what happens, that for the Christian girl or a Jewish girl, what we say, that we believe in all the prophets that you believe. For the Christian we say, you have to believe in an additional prophet, that is Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we can prove from the Bible that Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, prophesies about the last and final prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For the Jews, we have to say, you have to believe in additional two prophets, Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, and Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And we can prove from the Bible about both, about the Old Testament. So we aren't abusing any of the prophets. We respect all the prophets. We say, you believe in additional two for the Jews, and for the Christian, additional one. That's it. It's easy. There's no conflict. So when she comes to a Muslim home,